Welcome.
Hi. Okay. It's really honestly a treat and a pleasure to be here. I have to say that I'm a bit humbled because I'm standing in a Zoom group, We're joining together really in a Farbrengen with people who are in the trenches every single day with our own. I know that for many, the glory of shlichus sometimes doesn't feel the same when we're in our own maises, in our own schools, and yet our own girls, their neshamas are so precious. You know, just as the Jessicas and the Samanthas in my campus, our own Chaimushkas and Chanas are just really, really, they're amazing. And I'm humbled to really be in the trenches with you for whenever I'm able to jump in for a little bit. And I want to thank you for doing that day in day out. It's a sometimes not so it's sometimes thankless. Let's just say that. Um, so I look at this subject from probably I'm coming at it from a different maybe place. I would say, growing up as a girl, it was kind of on autopilot. I heard echoed in my head, "B'schos Hashem Kanes Nagawa was in Mitzrayim," and I felt so seen going for dollars or sitting at a rally as a little girl. I never faced this layer of who I was and what that meant. Jewish femininity was just kind of there. It was more, I'd say, on autopilot. And obviously, we know that all the girls that we are zecha to interact with, to teach, to work with, they're the future. That's it. They're front lines. Um, and I'm aware the enormity of what's at stake with our own. And you don't have to look at the data, the statistics too far to know that we have work to do in this area for sure. Um, and on a personal level, I never really faced this. And then I went out to campus, and I remember the local temple. There was this aesthetic, like almost like an exhibit came to town with like penguins, but like it was us, me and my husband, and they actually took bets to see how long we'll last. And the local sister had said, "Can we please do a night with what it means to be a Hasidic woman?" And it was like the first time I had to challenge myself with that question from kind of the external lens. And I would say that was kind of the like launch point for this journey. I also at that point only had three big boys. So I like didn't even think of like how am I transitioning this to my girls? That wasn't in my mindset yet. And yet I had to see this journey through the eyes of those on the outside looking in. And I'll never forget in the beginning, I was very intimidated to learn. And then as I was learning some of the chassidus with my own students and these professors educated, they were like, how do we not know these things? My whole journey in life would have been different. My whole perspective would have been different. And as I watched girls on our campus uncover the layers of Yiddishkeit and start to cover up and really shine for who they were and learn Lahavin and Reish Chodesh for the first time. And I have girls that are now either in Shluchos or Hasidim from Pasha, just learning who we are, where we come from the sources, from Torah and from Chassidus. And I will never forget, I had a girls' night. It was an open Q&A discussion night. Um, and one girl, everyone's always in Texas, everybody's really polite. God bless you, bless your heart. They don't want to ask something, they're going to insult you. And I'm like, I'm from New York. We just say what we're thinking. We ask what we go straight for it. And I remember one girl asked towards the end of the evening, she said, Manya, how is it that you have a meaningful Judaism, a meaningful Yiddishkeit? You never got an Aliyah at the Torah. You don't count for a minyan. You don't have tefillin. She was basically asking, who are you? How do you feel good about who you are? And it was so interesting. It added that layer to really say, well, I never had a complex with who I was as a Jewish woman. I never wondered, well, why can't I be okay? Maybe like in high school when we watched the boys in camp make really good plays, we're like, oh, the boys' camps are so fun. But I didn't want to be them. Ew, pathetic, right? That was so it never really crossed my mind through that lens. And I certainly wasn't jealous that I didn't have to put on tefillin or have an aliyah. So it really pushed me to go really, really deep. And I would say that between that and the girls in my own campus who were growing in the Yiddishkeit, that really pushed me to learn these things, to take that deep journey inward. And the other thing I would say that really um, came like came up at the same time, and I don't even know how it happened. I actually think I had a niece who was in high school in Muncie or Benos Chabad in Muncie, and she said, "Can you come in and do a Farbrengen?" And I think it was like very accidental, obviously not. And I ended up in the Muncie High School. She's married, and I know have a few kids already, so it was a while ago. And ever since then, I really have been zeichet to spend a lot of time with our own girls. And just recently on Chaf B'Shvat, I was able to join with a few different groups, but one group was the girls of about 100 girls, and they were 21 plus. So we're not talking about, okay, like girls who've kind of gelled, like you would think maybe by 21, 22, 23, 24, I kind of know who I am as a Jewish woman, where that takes me, and what are the challenges that I'm going to face, and what tools I have to navigate it. But what I found through the 3 and 4 hour real Farbrengen style, everything on the, guts, kishkes on the table discussion was that our own are so parched. I always tell my husband, whenever I go to a Shabbaton and I spend hours with our girls, I feel like I understand Samalacha Nafshi. Like I'm literally just thirsty. I'm yearning. I need. Or when David Melech says that, like a deer that's, on the edge of water, like thirsting, like that's how much I want to connect. And so bit by bit, I've really been zeicha to really meet mind, soul with our own girls. And it started off, I think, with high school and then a little bit of seminary. Um, and I've actually seen this shift to lower and lower, younger and younger ages. We're talking sixth, seventh graders having conversations that are really big about the feminine role. Now, they're not saying it that way. They're saying, well, what does halacha say? And why do rabbis get to decide? And do I have to have so many kids? We're talking sixth and seventh graders. And they're kind of, yes, it's an immature lens. We can even discuss neurologically where their brain is at, whether but they're asking really deep questions. And one of the things it really led me to was this real, like, how is it possible that our own are not getting it? What do I mean by that? I went to Beis Yaakov for 2 years. And in Beis Yaakov, it was a rough time. I'm not gonna lie, I was during Gimel Tammuz. And the girls, honestly, like you were the two token Chabad girls, they had a lot to say. But I remember when we had a reunion a few years later, and me and my other Chabad friend had just been somewhere working on shluchas for the summer. And I remember one girl said to us, pulled us from the side, she said, "You Chabad girls, you think you could change the world?" And I was like, yeah, of course we can. Like, it didn't even cross my mind that it was an option that we couldn't. Of course we could. What do you mean? We're the Nashim Tzidkanias. This is a generation that's going to lead us out of goal. It's like, of course we could. It wasn't even a question. I'm saying, go to a Chabad house, go to a camp, go. Of course you could. You can affect the world. And she said, I think I need to just be a good girl, a bas Torah, so I could marry a ben Torah, so I could support him in his pursuits. And you're 16, you think you could change the world. And it occurred to me that as a Lubavitcher, we were so ingrained with Ufaratza. We were so ingrained with Shluchas. We were so ingrained, of course, it's normal for a sixth grader to stand on the street corner, hand out candlesticks, and inspire someone's neshama. It wasn't even a question. I remember my friends and I, one a shlucha had a baby, and we were, I think, at most 14 or 15, oldest 15, and she needed someone to take over a teen group, and we took over a teen group. And it never occurred to me that we were 14-year-olds running or 15-year-olds running a teen group for 16, 17-year-olds. That's not normal. It's just not a normal thing. But in Lubavitch and Chabad, of course it's normal. What do you mean? Shluchas, the Rebbe, Neshamas, Caravelt, it's up to you. Like, it was this was the mantras. These were the ideas running through my head. And yet I quizzically look at our own and I notice a few things. And you're seeing this because you're in the classroom daily. You're meeting with these neshamas daily. You're seeing the challenge, the torment, the questions, the foundational, fundamental, big existential questions that they're asking and struggling with. So you know this daily. And what I'm wondering is how. How can we do something differently? How do we give them something more? Because their neshamas are like saying, help, SOS, give me more. And many times they express it in ways externally that we're like, oh, this generation, what's going on? What are we going to do? It's the iPhones, it's the social media, it's the parents. We have all these wonderful theories of what's going on, and all of it's probably part of what's going on. But I feel like we can shift and create changes within our own. So they take their seat at the table as the nations of Kanis that they are. And I often find that when I'm sitting with our own girls and they're amazing, I'm in awe. I'm sometimes told, "Oh, good luck with that grade. Oh, you're gonna do open Q&A." I'm like, "Sure, good luck with that grade." And I'm thinking to myself, like, "What do you mean, amazing?" And I leave always more inspired because our own girls are thirsting for real, authentic Yiddishkeit. I think their neshamas are pashut. You talk about today, the foundation. These are special neshamas. These are neshamas that Chassidus needs to be so real. The Rebbe says it's up to us, it's up to them, it's up to this generation. We have no choice. The stakes are high, but the powers of who they are, the power of the neshama of who these girls are is tremendous. And so what I like to share with them is, first of all, I like to show up, Pashit, there, give them the passion of who we are. The world needs us. I say, guys, you know what? No pressure, but the world is actually, the Jewish world and the continuity of Am Yisrael is actually relying on you. We are. And then I say, I'm joking, no pressure, because there is pressure. But you know what? What does that mean? What does that mean that we are the Miriams, the Yecheveds, how many times did the Rebbe discuss that the essence of our neshama is this generation of women? I was just studying with some of my female students, and we've been doing Women of Tanakh. And when it came to Purim, we paused where we were. I think we were up to Rivka, and we jumped to Esther. And now it was Pesach that we jumped to Yecheved, Miriam, and the women of the Dart, in Mitzrayim and the Midbar, like who these women were. And it's amazing to watch the lights turn on amongst these girls, like, whoa. And I say, guys, you're the Queen Esthers, you're the Miriams, you're the Yecheveds. Who's going to do it if not you? And they're suddenly like, yeah, wow, I'm needed. And that's, to me, what I find is if we can shift to a place, of empowerment, a place where we are really saying the world needs you. Klal Yisrael needs you. The Yidden need you. The Rebbe told us we have to step up. This is our role. So first of all, and then this real empowerment of like, what can we do? And I think that I often watch what our Lubavitcher girls are capable of pulling off mitzvahs and this and Farbrengen, that they're amazing. They truly are amazing. And if we can empower them to take a look at their inner world and really see themselves as a chelak elokami mamish, really see themselves the etzem with who they are. Now that also means we have to do it. And I think that's not just as mothers, that's as sisters, that's as friends, we got to do it. And so we even have to do that for our husbands, for our teenagers. We also need to see them that way, right? But if we can see them that way, and if we can share with them how we see them as these neshamas that are just here in the world to bring light, to change the world, and we give them opportunities to express it, which I know so many schools are doing now, which is amazing to see, we're in a different place. And if we can help them, and I'm sharing what, if we can help them understand who they come from and what that means, who they are. So, because often, here's the deal, and I'm going to say something a little controversial, but sorry. It's the disclaimer. I was recently speaking to a group of girls, and she said, you didn't tell us a bunch of miracle stories from your shluchos. And you didn't just tell us to get a mashpia. And you didn't just tell us that we need to dress tznius and kokvod bas malach panima. And I even noticed you didn't mention iskashros. So guys, this is a disclaimer. Don't ever bring me out, okay? But what did I do? I pushed them to find their own inner connection. And then I said to the girl, I said, did you notice that I did speak about getting that asel harav. And I did speak about your inner dignity and your identity and what message you're sending to the world. I said, but here's what I've discovered is there's certain buzzwords and catchphrases. And I said to them, it was recently at Shabbat, and the girls said, could you address tznius? I said, no. They said, what do you mean? You're not going to address tznius? I said, no, I know how this works. Your eyes glaze over, your eyes roll to the back of your head. You're not sure. I'm not sure if you're fully there. And they said, no, well, please, we really want to hear. I said, let's shift. I want to discuss identity. I want to discuss dignity. I want to discuss what messages you send. What's your inner world and what's your outer world? How are they aligned? Are you really reflecting who you are to the world? And then I addressed a lot of what they hear. I said, guys, let's talk. They said, well, what if I wear my skirts a little too short? I said, can I ask you a question? I'm going to turn the question back to you. Ask yourself, why is my skirt above my knee? Is it because my knees are so attractive? I said, I have news for you. Your knees are, and your elbows, not the most attractive body parts. They're not. It's not like you show your elbow and boom, a line around the block. For people waiting to look at your elbows. So I said, you have to ask yourself that question. You want me to give you a psak halacha? No, the question was really cute. What would you say if a girl, is it better to wear 2 inches above or 4 inches above? I said, first of all, I'm not a Rav. Don't ask me, I'm not giving up psak halacha, but I said, I'm going to ask you that question. What's your goal? What message are you sending? And I think that if they could see themselves as this neshama, as in this line of women from generations who need to step up and really reflect. So not like who they are on the inside and the message they send to the world about who they are. We're at a different place. And I think that with that comes really deeply acknowledging that for some reason, again, we could go with all the theories in the world as to why, the social media, the parents, the whatever it is, okay? But at the end of the day, it's not a mistake that these neshamas are born in this generation. And if we're so scared to, I was having a conversation with one of my daughters. 2 of their friends had Israeli flags draped for Purim. And I had a conversation with my girls beforehand. That's why I know you're going to Israeli, Purim and Eretz Yisrael, but this is why we don't, walk around in a flag. And just so you understand, Shittas Chabad, and I gave them a little bit of history. It's not like they understood context. Afterwards, my daughter said, it was interesting. I was so surprised to see so many of our own girls. And I said, well, why do you think, again, I'm not going to answer the question. I'm going to give them a mirror inward. Because I don't know, is she feeling like there's something wrong with me that I wasn't? Is she resentful that I kind of exposed? Like, I wanted to know where she was going with it. So I said, well, why do you think the girl doesn't know that Shittas Chabad? And she said, I think she doesn't really know. And I think parents are scared to set boundaries and have these real conversations. And it was so eye-opening to hear from a teenager, because what is she saying? What I'm finding is let's be real with them. We have to acknowledge the blockages of their exposure. We have to meet them where they're at their questions and their thoughts and their ideas. I'm talking to girls and they're saying to me, like, but how do I navigate this? And how do I upgrade this? And I'm thinking to myself, when I was younger, when we were in high school, what were we thinking? We weren't as sophisticated emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. These girls are exposed to so much in the negative, but they're also exposed to so much in the positive. So if we can really help them and acknowledge the blockages that are going on, because yes, there's a mental health crisis and there's anxiety. And is it because of the smartphones? Is it because we could go with all the theories in the world, but at the end of the day, this is a reality we're facing. And it does affect their role as who I am as a Jewish woman. It does affect, and you know what? I hate to say it, but the mindset of the patriarchy that I hear from my college students, I'm starting to hear from our own girls and Farbrengens. So these things trickle in. So how do we empower them? We got to give them a window inward. We have to help them not lose touch with the etzem of who they are. So and I do think sometimes it puts us in places where we have to have uncomfortable conversations. But you know what? If we're not gonna, who will? And I found that the more real I was without judgments, the more real we can acknowledge the pain points of this generation, the challenges that they have, their exposure to things that really, I wish the world wasn't exposed to these things. And a few years back during COVID, a few shluchas, about a dozen of us made a program called Summer for the Soul. And it was an online Zoom. Everyone was on Zoom, and it was a week of teaching for college, for high school and plus. And we had over 200 girls, literally from around the world. Girls stayed up all night to stay in classes. It was like mind-boggling. We did an open Q&A night. It was with Keith Flanim and Miriam Lipsker. And hands down, and we gathered questions throughout the week. Hands down, the number one pain point that they were saying is, why don't our parents and schools realize how much we're carrying and how much we're exposed to? We have all this information from everywhere coming at us. Why are they scared to give us terrorist perspective? And I don't think it's comfortable. I do think we have very clear hierarchies from the Rebbe of how to address sensitive things. And I think we have that opportunity to meet our girls and empower them with Yiddishkeit. I was fascinated, not laughing. I was amused and fascinated that what came up earlier when Rifki was speaking was about, teaching our girls the empowerment through Taras Mishpacha. Let our girls know who they are. Not just, Mesiris Nefesh or Taras Mishpacha. Let our girls know they need to take their seat at the table through history, through this timeline, through all the generations of women. And yes, they're the next ones to carry this forward. So it comes with knowledge. It comes with us being aware of what they're exposed to, and meeting them with Torah. There is nothing, I always tell my own kids, if every person can walk off the street and say, what does Judaism say about blank? My own children certainly should be able to. And I think when we do that, we can give them this introspective way of looking at who they are and their identity and what they mean to the Yidden, to generations of Yidden. I think we're shifting the game to empowerment. And I do think what I found fascinating is how open they are to taking responsibility when we're real with them. And I'm always amazed. I'm like, I don't know why these girls tolerate me, because the truth is, I'm really hard on them. I'm like, really? Your Yiddishkeit is yours, not your mother's, not your school's, not your anhalas. It's your neshama, which is a chelik of kami mal mamish. That's a part that the world needs. That's here at this point, and that's you. And I always tell them, I say, all this information, no excuse to not own your Yiddishkeit nowadays. So I think we need to put the ball in their court. We need to shift the way, like, to me, it's shifting the way I see them. And this came to the forefront or to fruition in a very unique way, because I'm raising daughters on campus where they're exposed to fill in the blank, right? But how do I do it with them feeling empowered? And it starts with really, really, to me, believing in what I grew up with. See, the reason I was able, the reason the autopilot was possible is because all we got from our Rebbe. And we have so much chassidus that we can give our girls to really help them own that the world needs them, and this is where they're at. I want to end off because I want to respect the time, but I'm here if anyone wants to ask. I did see someone ask the question. If anyone could, Hannah, can you what's it called, the questions, if there's anything?
Sure. Someone asked if there's a recording of the Summer of the Soul.
Okay, so we actually intentionally did not record them. And the reason we didn't record them is because we wanted the girls to feel extremely,
right.
Belushon 2024, safe space. The word safe space didn't exist then, but we wanted to create a safe space for the girls. But I will tell you, if anyone is curious, the 29 pages of questions that the girls have, we sent it out afterwards to all the anhalas so they could see. And these are not girls who are like pushing the envelope. These are girls who really want to know.
Wow.
I find our girls amazing. I'm like in awe. I tell them, I said, I'm in awe of them. I'm in awe of them. And I get more inspired every time I get an opportunity to go. So I think we just, we shouldn't be scared. It's not a mistake that their generation is going through what it's generation for. And it's also we're exactly where we're meant to be as the Mechanchos, as the Shluchos, in Chinuch, in all the areas that we are. It's not a mistake. So we could worry, we could fret, doomsday, Ivey, or we could say, okay, exactly what the Abishur wants from these Neshamas. Every generation has its challenge. This is this generation, and we have what it takes to do it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So basically, be real. Don't be afraid of the questions. Give them the information. They know more than we do. And push them to look inward. I often think like a huge part of our role in chinuch is to really cultivate pnimius, and that's what it means to be a chassidish educator. Especially when we talk about tznius, and tznius is an external manifestation of that extra inch on my skirt. Like if I have to forgive that extra inch, it's not going to kill me. I still know who I am, even if I'm not like so trendy that my skirt is an inch shorter, because I have a rich inner world. And we got to think of more ways to cultivate that.
I think it's also alignment. If the more a person feels aligned emotionally, baruchnius, bagashmis, like emotionally, spiritually. Sorry, I may talk colleges a little bit. Sorry about that. Like I jumped to that, but it's really, the more I'm aligned with my etzem, with my identity, with why I'm here, my tafkid, the more I could just shine. And I think our girls pushing back is that alignment's not there. Because you know what? It's interesting. My mother-in-law, when they went on Yechidos right before they went on Shluchos in the 70s, they went for their Yechidos with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, "Are you going to Simcha B'Tum Levav?" And my father like jumped in, absolutely. You know, going to Texas, we're going to start Shluchos in the state of Texas. And the Rebbe like paused and like looked at my mother-in-law and was like, "Are you going to Simcha B'Tum Levav?" And I share sometimes with our girls, and that's where I was saying about the knowledge of how rich our life is, right? And how much we have as Lubavitcher women. And it's why it doesn't make sense that our girls are struggling with this. Because like the Rebbe was literally the champion, as Hannah, you shared the story in the beginning, the champion of feminine energy and channeling it in the right direction and caravelt and go on, take on the world. Like it wasn't, there was a woman who was a modern Orthodox rabbi's wife, and she went to the Knesset Shulchan, and she said, came back and wrote a whole article for one of the Jewish papers. And she was saying that like the whole world's trying to figure out feminine energy where it belongs. Reform, conservative, even Orthodox, non-Orthodox. She's like, and you Chabadniks, you got it right. Like your Rebbe got it right. This is it. So I share this with the girls. I share with them the story of my mother-in-law. I share with them that my students' eyes opening as they realize who we are and what we are and where we stand and what the world needs us. And the more we can give that over from the pneumius place, right? From the place of the feminine neshama, it's a different game. We're on a different playing field. And not to be distracted by the external, because the truth is, the neshamas and our meistas are tamchetim neshamas. They need the pneumius first. They need that inner alignment. They need that inner world being addressed, and they need the chachma bin and das. They need the chabad. They need the intellect. These are the neshamas that are bringing Mashiach. I tell them, I'm like, listen, my generation didn't do it, so we need you guys. Like, step up, And it's they hear it. They're ready.